Everybody take their seat, please. We're going to get this going. Good evening, everybody. At this time, please silence your cell phones and be advised these proceedings are being recorded. For those physically present in the council chamber who desire to address the city council during the meetings, please complete the request to speak form available at the front entrance of the council chamber and present it to the city clerk. Speakers physically present will be called upon in the appropriate time. Each person will be allowed 3 minutes. And I already confirmed with the city clerk that we are good for live feed.
Yes, sir, we're live.
Okay, because I was checking you guys out in South Carolina and I was getting ready to catch a plane home over here. But we are good. Thank you. I'm sorry, residents, that we had some issues with our IT. And it was down for a couple days, but Daisy and AJ and everybody got going and got it fixed. So going to call this meeting to order Tuesday, March 25th at 6 p.m. The invocation be given by Pastor Gabriel from Azure Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the Pledge of Allegiance be given by Councilman Allen. So can we please stand, Pastor Gabriel, come from the podium.
God, we gather today a diverse community seeking guidance and inspiration as we address the needs of our city. May the spirit of unity and understanding guide our deliberations. May we listen to one another with empathy, seeking common ground and solutions that serve the best interest of all our residents. May we be reminded that we are neighbors and that our decisions have far-reaching consequences. May we strive to act with wisdom, compassion, and justice. May we be mindful of the needs of the vulnerable and marginalized. And may we work together to create a grand terrace where all belong and where everyone can thrive. May the spirit of service and the pursuit of the common good be our guiding principles. Amen.
Beautiful prayer, Pastor Gabriel. Thank you. All right. We don't have any AB 2449 disclosure. Madam City Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brown? Here. Councilmember Allen?
Here.
Councilmember Wilson?
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sabino?
Here.
Mayor Hussey?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any items not appearing on the regular agenda. Because of restrictions contained in California law, the City Council may not discuss or act on any item not on the agenda, but may briefly respond to statements made or ask questions for clarification. The mayor may also request a brief response from staff to questions raised during the public comment, or may request the matter be agendized for a future meeting. City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Steve G.
Now, Mr. G, is this a regular comment or is this about a item agenda comment?
It's just a general comment.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Steve Ganecko. My wife and I are residents of Grand Terrace for more than 5 years. And we own 2 Kona Ice franchises. And we have worked and operated in this city in 2017, we worked a lot with the city. We did a lot of events. We did movies in the park, concerts in the park, things. We were invited to all kinds of things. And we did fundraising for the baseball leagues and things like that at the parks. And so we just assumed we were all good. And then
Hold on, Steve. This is an agenda item. This is, you'll have to, I believe it's agenda number 10. Because you're looking at, because we're doing some adoptions of ordinances and finalize, Daisy?
Well,
Are you looking because of the agenda that's on the city council? Is that why you're here tonight?
was it a?
Because it's about what the fireworks and the public parks and the street vendors? Is that why?
It is about parks and street vending.
Yeah,
and
that's an agenda item. If you want to save your comment for that, you can go right ahead, but it's better to comment on your agenda item.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that then.
Oh, no, that's all right, sir.
Sorry.
Thank you. Daisy, any other comments?
Tony Rosales?
Tony?
Good evening, council members. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Manager. My name is Tony Rosales. I am a field representative from the Office of Assemblywoman Leticia Castillo, and I am just here to provide a quick legislative update regarding what has been happening in Sacramento. As you know, committee hearings have begun in Sacramento, and bills are now going through the life process of a bill. The Assemblywoman sits on the Communications and Conveyance Committee, the Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee, the Education Committee, and she serves as Vice Chair on the Human Services and Economic Development, Growth, and Household Impact Committee. Just a quick note on a couple bills that she is authoring and where they are at now in the legislature. AB 862 is about skilled trades. This bill enhances school accountability by requiring local control and accountability plans to include data on students' post-high school intentions, such as college enrollment and career pathway participation. This bill ensures that there's an equal emphasis on higher education and vocational training. This bill is scheduled for a hearing tomorrow in the Assembly Education Committee. AB 496, this bill is about EDD audits. And as many of you know, the state legislature's district office, we assist in expediting cases of EDD claims that are not yet answered for constituents. So we've noticed this is an issue within the California legislature, and this bill will require the Legislative Analyst Office to conduct an annual evaluation of the EDD service quality, including unemployment and disability insurance claims processing. This bill has been referred to the Assembly Insurance Committee, but it has not yet been scheduled for a hearing. AB 520, this one is on homelessness and mental health spending portal. This bill would create a single publicly accessible online portal to track annual spending on homelessness and mental health programs. This bill requires a detailed list of total funding amounts for the previous 10 fiscal years. Each program that has received funding shall be listed on the website for their services that they provide that are associated with mental health. This bill has been referred to the Assembly Housing and Community Development Committee. The AB 780, sorry, I'm almost done. AB 780 is on the ADA extension. This bill is intended to help out small businesses. This provides small businesses with an opportunity to address and correct any accessibility violations under the Americans with Disabilities Act before they face lawsuits for statutory damages or attorney's fees. And finally, I know this one was inspired by what recently happened in Grand Terrace. AB 921, this is about generators. This bill would, during a proclaimed state of emergency issued by the governor resulting in a loss of electrical service, permit the purchase of portable or emergency backup generators that are not compliant with state Air Resource Board regulations. We know this was an issue that a lot of residents in Grand Terrace faced in January, and we're looking to solve that issue once and for all. Additionally, this bill would permit the purchase of a portable or emergency backup generator costing up to $7,000 to be filed as a tax write-off. This bill has been referred to the Assembly Natural Resources Committee, but it has not yet been scheduled for a hearing. That concludes my legislative update. As always, if you have any questions regarding any legislation, please don't hesitate to reach out to the district office. We would love to hear if their council has any concerns, if they have any bills that they are interested in. We would love to begin those conversations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank the Assemblywoman for all the hard work. She hit the ground running, so we really appreciate the representation she's given Grand Terrace and her district. So it's a blessing. Thank you.
Will do. I will relay that message to her. Thank you.
Conrad, we have the senator coming what day? You remember? Is it April 1st?
The 30th, I believe. I would have to check. I'm not
I need
positive.
to check it before your comments, so.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do have a Senator Lucille Ochabak. She's coming out for a couple hours too. So Grand Terrace, like I said, is blessed to have, state representation here finally coming and talking to the residents. So it's going to be an open house for the residents for questions and answers. Do we have any other public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Special presentation, City of Grand Terrace, new employee induction by Daisy, City Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Daisy Alcazar, City Clerk. This evening, I wanted to introduce a new employee. Her name is Jessica Segovia. She's the new Department Secretary for the City Clerk's Office. And I'm going to go ahead and let her give a brief statement.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm really nervous.
So am I. Don't worry about it. You can just look at me and you'll start laughing. You'll be all right.
I'm honored to be able to work for the City of Grand Terrace, and I look forward to serving the community.
That's perfect. And thank you for joining our family. And I know you want to run out of here, but no, we put you on the spot. But let me ask you a question, since you're nervous. What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Oh. The reason why I'm asking, when I worked at the prison, the warden always asked that for an icebreaker and stuff, just to get you going. But pizza's good. We got plenty of pizza places here, so. I can't recommend one because then I'll be showing favoritism. But welcome and thank you for coming to Grand Terrace and being part of the team. So,
Thank you.
all right, we'll go ahead and close special presentation. Consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial that be acted upon by the City Council at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or citizen may request a removal of an item from the consent calendar for discussion. Is there any public comment on any consent calendar?
No, sir.
The Lions don't want to talk about their consent calendar?
No.
Okay. Council have any questions on the consent calendar? And you want to make a motion or anything?
Just one comment.
Okay.
I will be voting no on item number 5. And that is because the appointee is not a resident of Grand Terrace, and I believe that we have many qualified people that have served this community and have given their time and talent to supporting our recreational programs, and I think that Grand Terrace residents should be given the first opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull that, and we'll bring it back. So I need a motion for item
I'll
one.
move the consent calendar, Mayor.
You approve the rest of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I have a second for consent, item 1 through 4 and 6 through 8. Let's go ahead and vote, please.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. I thought you were going to pull item 8 because the beer was way too much last year. I don't know. No, I'm just joking. It was a good fundraiser. So item 5, we're looking at, Councilmember Brown wants to pull that item because of the person who applied for the position is not a resident, and I know they work here. So do we have any other people apply for this position?
Daisy, can you please make an announcement in relation to what we discussed?
Yes, earlier today I spoke with Councilmember Wilson regarding this situation. I did let him know that the other applicant is a resident here, and if he would like to proceed, her name is Lacey, and I believe that Senior Management Analyst Shanita Tillman was going to bring this item back.
Because it is Councilmember Wilson's appointing.
Correct.
Okay. So we'll just go ahead and pull item 5. Does the council have any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. And, being new, I don't know all the procedures, but when I was reviewing the agenda item, it says in the bylaws that you have to be a resident or a business owner. She is neither a resident nor a business owner based on her application. I'm not picking on her. She's probably highly qualified or it wouldn't have been moved forward, but I'm surprised that made it by your staff. And I would hope you'd catch that in the future. Thank you.
Okay, very good catch. You know, it's nice that this person did apply for it and wants to be part of the city, so we'll just have to introduce her to one of our real estate agents, I guess, so. Any other council members have any questions? City Attorney, you have anything to add?
Nope, item's been pulled.
So we're just gonna table item 5 and bring it back for the new applicant, because it is Councilmember Wilson's appointee.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay. All right, public hearing, item 9, General Plan Amendment 25-01, 2021-2029 Housing Element, presented by Scott. And this is a short one, right?
It is short. I do have a consultant team here. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. This is a very important item for the community. It's been in the works for almost 5 years now. It's slightly overdue with the state. And the people that got us across the finish line is our consultant team, Michael Baker International. I'd like to turn this over to Project Manager Dan Weary. He's been able to work through the state to get us a conditional compliant letter for the housing element, and I'll let him take it away. Come on down, Dan.
Make sure I got my clicker. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. I'm Dan Weary from Michael Baker International. I'm here with my colleague, Hannah Kreitman. We've got just a short presentation, about 10 or 12 slides. I'm going to do the first half, kind of give you a quick overview, hand it off to Hannah, and she'll go through some of the other details. So without further ado, we can skip over that. Overall, the recommendations are, receive the presentation, and hopefully we can act on this draft housing element that's, as Scott said, been underway for well over 4 years. Won't belabor the point, but here's kind of a quick summary of the history. We came on as part of consultants through San Bernardino County in February 2022. Did a little bit of work. It started with another consultant, I should say. We picked it up a little bit through San Bernardino to provide some technical assistance, and then really kind of came on full-time just almost a year ago, actually. And then we've worked through the process with HCD, Housing, Community, and Development Department of the state. And as Scott mentioned, we've got a letter of conditional approval. And so that's great. The reason it's conditional is the condition is to implement the housing element through amending your zoning ordinance. So that'll be the next step. So really quick, there's 6 major components to the housing element. There's a review of accomplishments. That's looking back at your prior housing element and all the programs and goals that you set, and it's just kind of a report card to see how you've done. There's a needs analysis. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of the data analysis to look at your demographics, your socioeconomic data, your housing conditions, and that kind of sets the table for the next major section, which is the sites and resources. The sites chapter is one of the 2 main pieces here. The sites chapter is really to make sure that you've got an inventory of appropriately zoned and suitable lands for development for housing to meet your housing requirements. And these are requirements that are set by the state. We do a constraints analysis, and that's primarily to look at the city's regulations, the things that you can control, and determine if there's anything that we can do to improve and facilitate housing construction, or really to identify and remove any barriers. And then there's a relatively new chapter for this housing cycle called Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing. It used to be 1 or 2 paragraphs in the prior cycle, and now it's closer to 60 or 80 pages. That's all by design by the state. But basically what that's trying to do is make sure you're complying with your fair housing laws and trying to take meaningful actions to improve fair housing, i.e. try to correct old situations that may have existed before any of us were here. And then finally, the implementation plan. These are your goals and your recommendations, your programs, which come out of all of this analysis. So real quick, we like to skip over this. This isn't super relevant for Grand Terrace because we think you're going to be in compliance. But if you weren't to adopt then there are some consequences here. You can get disqualification from state funding, your current RHNA allocation, your Regional Housing Needs Allocation, RHNA. The current 630 units would be added to another set for the next batch if we weren't to adopt this, so that's a pretty stiff penalty. There can be fines, penalties, and litigation, but we're not going to go there. The RHNA allocations, again, RHNA stands for Regional Housing Needs Allocation. The state, as part of these 8-year housing plan cycles, set a goal for 2.5 million new units within an 8-year period. And that 2.5 million got divided up amongst all the regions. San Bernardino County got a good chunk of that as part of Southern California. Actually, that was the largest chunk. I think it was 1.4 million of the 2.5 came to Southern California. And your share is about 630 out of that 2.5 million. The important part for Grand Terrace is that, and for any city, it's a part of their housing element, you need to provide sufficient land that's appropriately zoned and suitable land, suitable for development, to accommodate those 630 units. It doesn't change your obligation. The city's not obligated to build any housing. We identify certain sites and zones to meet that obligation in the housing element. Those sites are not obligated to build anything. It's up to the property owner. We just need to show that you've got the potential, the city creates the potential to meet your housing obligations. And then you need to maintain that capacity of 630 plus units throughout the 8-year planning period, which ends in 2029. So we're halfway there. If you don't, if a site gets developed from one of the units, one of the sites that we've identified in the plan, let's say you identified it for 100 units and it gets built for 50, that would be a net loss of 50 units. We've created a buffer so that you can absorb some net losses without having to do anything. But if you have a net loss that exceeds your buffer, you need to find another site. You need to add that capacity back in. You can do that by adding a site or rezoning a site. But you have to do that within 180 days. That's tricky to do. So we create a buffer, so you've always got 630 plus some extra units, and you've got a very healthy buffer here. So you're in good shape. And again, the last point we put in bold, we just like to emphasize it. The designation, if you're on the list or you're on the map, it does not change the owner's obligations. The owner does not have to develop their property. It actually adds value to the property because generally these properties are being zoned for higher density, so the property would be worth more because you can build more. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Hannah and let her go through a few of the details and some of the programs. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. The council have any questions? Councilman Allen? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Thank you.
I was reading that note.
Good
Go ahead.
evening.
Oh, you're not done yet, right?
No, we're about halfway
Okay.
through.
I thought we were going to get over easy on this. So.
We're going to get into some more specifics here. Good evening. I'm Hannah Kreitman. I'm also with the Michael Baker consultant team working on the housing element. The sixth cycle RHNA for the city of Grand Terrace is 630 total units. As shown in this table, the RHNA is broken down by income category based on the area median income, or the AMI, which is typically based on a family of 4. In San Bernardino County, the AMI is $97,500. The RHNA is broken down by income category to ensure that housing is provided for all income levels and available for all members of the community. Current pending projects and ADU estimated trends can be counted towards meeting the RHNA as well. The remaining need is met by identifying sites with opportunity for housing and by rezoning as needed. So this is a map of all of the selected RHNA opportunity sites. The colors on the map represent the income levels that the sites are eligible to meet. This is based on state of California guidelines for size and density. Generally, only sites that are between 0.5 and 10 acres with densities above 20 dwelling units per acre are eligible to be projected for lower income households in the housing element per the state of California. To accommodate for a shortfall of sites and provide for adequate sites, the city is
rezoning 97.3 total acres to allow for housing at a density of 20 to 40 units per acre. By upzoning for considerable capacity beyond the RHNA, the city is encouraging housing mobility, creating housing opportunity, and ensuring there is adequate capacity to meet the RHNA. The city has identified 20 parcels or 24.2 acres from this rezone to meet the RHNA. So in this map, the green represents the sites designated for lower income households, the blue represents the sites for moderate income households, the pink represents the sites for above moderate income households, and the purple represents a site designated for a mix of incomes. And overall, the goal is to distribute the RHNA sites across the city with good distribution near transit, jobs, and services that help make housing efficient and affordable. So now I'm going to give an overview on the prominent programs within the housing element. The housing element includes 21 programs that are separated into 5 broad categories. These 5 categories help ensure the city is addressing the wide variety of housing needs in the community. The categories are: provide adequate sites for housing. This category ensures that there are enough sites to meet the identified 630 RHNA units and that all sites comply with state law. Assist in development of affordable housing. Mitigate constraints on low-income and special needs housing. Conserve and improve existing housing stock, and promote equal housing opportunities. So the following include some of the notable programs in the housing element. These are some of the key programs. Program 1 outlines how the city will meet the RHNA and ensure there are adequate sites. The proposed program includes a rezone of 97.3 total acres to allow for housing at a density of 20 to 40 units per acre. By upzoning for considerable capacity beyond the RHNA, the city is encouraging housing mobility, creating housing opportunity, and ensuring there's adequate capacity to meet the RHNA. The program also includes a replacement policy and by right approval for 4 reuse sites as required by state law. The element identifies that rezoning will be completed in early 2025. The city is going to pursue this rezoning once the housing element is adopted. Program 3 includes actions that encourage and facilitate developments that provide affordable and special needs housing. This is also required by state law. There are a number of potential actions, including annual contacting of developers, priority processing, assisting and supporting new applications, evaluating options for fee deferrals and design modifications, and annual outreach to developers. Program 9 is a program for ADU education and incentivization. Efforts in this program include a dedicated webpage on the city's website for ADU information, such as a set of FAQs, a flowchart of the development process, and links to resources for the development of affordable ADUs. This program may also include additional incentivization options, such as pre-approved plans in coordination with some regional efforts being pursued by SBCTA. Program 19 identifies place-based improvements, such as those from the city's already adopted capital improvements plan. These efforts include street improvement and sidewalk repair, upzoning to allow increased housing choice and opportunities, and geographic targeting of assistance programs in the northwestern areas of the city. Program 20 includes new outreach efforts regarding fair housing resources in the city. This includes continuing to contract with a fair housing provider. Through this program, the city will make educational and training resources available to tenants, landowners, homeowners, and any other residents who may be affected by fair housing policy. This will include information on fair housing testing, arbitration, reporting health risks and discrimination, best rental practices, and more. Educational efforts may include a workshop at least twice in the planning period and distribution of fair housing pamphlets at City Hall, at the Senior Center, on the city's website, and at in-person community events. And the goal is to provide information to at least 50 households annually. So, next steps. On November 13th, HCD issued a letter of conditional compliance to the city of Grand Terrace, noting that full compliance would be reached once the housing element is adopted and the rezones noted in the housing element are complete. Therefore, the next step is adoption of the housing element, and once the housing element is adopted, we will notify HCD of the adoption. The city will then need to prepare the noted rezonings before reaching full compliance. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on reaching this milestone.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Councilmember Allen?
Thank you for that, and to your colleague also. Did you say that you made a statement right at the end, and now I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was going to ask you about it. While I'm trying to remember what it was you said, I'll ask you this. The California's projected population is not, California's population is not projected to increase as far as from what I've learned at all the various like conferences, the things I've learned, not to the degree that it used to. And my question to you is, do your contacts at HCD, in your conversations with them, do they recognize this? Or are they continuing to think that hordes and hordes of people are flowing across the border and we can't house them because the population of California is not doing like it used to do, like when they put this together to try to justify it?
The decisions made at HCD are generally driven by the legislative body. So the RENA allocation is based on several factors, not only population, but also land availability, history of development within each of the cities. So that RENA allocation comes from the state, but then ends up at the COG at SBCTA, and then it's divided between each of the cities. So with HCD, we're not talking directly about where this allocation came from because their directive is coming directly from the legislature. So there's not really a way to predict where HCD is going and what we're anticipating for the next cycle, but the RENA allocation is determined based on more than just population growth.
Okay. Can you back your slides up one, please? You said that HCD sent a letter of conditional compliance in November?
Yes.
And this is March. And I'm wondering what happened between then and now? Why are we just now talking about voting on compliance and we weren't doing it in November or December?
I believe that was a combination of the holidays and various other scheduling things, and also we've been having discussions about rezoning and when that process is going to start and all of that. So there's really no like housing element reason why this has been delayed.
COVID. It's the reason of everything. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. You're next.
Your compatriot said something to the effect that it adds value with what's being proposed. Really? I know better than that. I've been in construction for 50 years. It's not going to add value. First of all, when you boost the density up into a particular area and its spot, which is the worst kind of zoning and the worst kind of planning that you can do, basically the state is asking us to discard all planning and building regulations to provide, quote unquote, this affordable housing fraud that's being foisted on the public. I don't think I can add the numbers up and make it actually work. When you guys provided the table 8.4, by the way, on page 130, it talks about extremely low. The maximum income is $26,500 for extremely low. Nobody can buy a house here. All they can do is rent. Very low, $39,500 maximum income, affordable rent's $988. Low is $63,200, and the affordable rent is $1,580. But in each one of those cases, it's not home ownership. All it is rental. What I don't want to do is I don't want to live in a place. I mean, like 50 years ago when I set out on this adventure to find the American dream, I don't want to live in a place like over in Brazil, over there in the barrios, where they got so much junk stacked on top of each other because they just did it. I mean, you know, in our case, we have to legislate it. And for some reason, our legislators don't have the brains or the guts to stand in the middle of something like this and properly represent us. How can we dumb down some of this garbage that the state is foisting on us because we have a unique situation. Grand Terrace is unique. You know, bottom line is we're different. We're not like Silicon Valley. We're not Sacramento. We're not San Bernardino. We're not Riverside. Therefore, the state can't rubber stamp its percentages on us. We grow slower. Our average household size is higher. We have fewer teenagers and more seniors. Our race/ethnicity ratio, and consequently our average income level, which they're tied together according to your document, has changed. 45% of our workers are teachers, social workers, and retail. And gee, those are historically low-paying jobs. We have a higher share of single-person households and a lower share of 7+ person households. We have a significantly higher percentage of homeowners and a lower percentage of renters. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to solve the situation based on these incredibly stupid mandates the state has handed down to us courtesy of our legislators. But what I'm saying is that if we do this, what's going to stop in 8 years from somebody going in and saying, well, yeah, we told you all you had to do was just rezone the things. Now, you either build it or we're going to come in and start slapping a bunch of fines and problems on you because, after all, we're the state and we can do anything we damn well please. You got to educate me here because I just don't understand. The numbers just don't work. They don't work. You know, going in, a developer can't build one of these monstrosities without some kind of financial aid, and there's very little out there. And then second, you're going to be putting something into a postage stamp in the middle of a bunch of residential that doesn't fit into the neighborhood whatsoever. You're going to zack all the stuff that has to do with, you know, decent planning and building and so on. You're going to zack all that stuff out in the name of affordable housing. And then when it comes down to it, you're going to end up with something like they've got over in Los Angeles where they graffiti the daylights out of a multifamily building because nobody can afford to live there or they just don't want to live there. One of the two. You know, bottom line is, I've never seen anything at the state range that says that this works. It doesn't work. Bottom line is they don't add in the people that know this, the people that have skin in the game. A fellow named Greg Williamson, one of the represents one of the developers a couple of years ago, said until you get people that have skin in the game in these discussions, you might as well forget it. This is a pipe dream. All of this is all garbage. What's happening is that we're having to reverse engineer ourselves into the formatting that the state has determined because as a political pundit, they screwed up. They didn't get their stuff done, and so now it's the local jurisdiction's responsibility to come up with the programs and square things away without any money from the state, of course, or any help in relation to that. All of this just makes me sick to my stomach. Please help me here.
I want to start by clarifying a couple things about the RHNA process, and then I'll pass it off to Dan. I want to start by reiterating that there is no obligation for site owners to redevelop their property. So if a site owner or a property owner has no interest in developing at the higher density that's being rezoned to, they have no obligation to build on their property. The housing element at its heart is a capacity exercise. As far as the character of the community...
Excuse me, and let me just ask this question, then a follow-up to that. Yeah. I understand that, and that's a pretty thought. But the problem is that according to the way the state has the thing set up, if for some reason you reduce the amount of density, then you got to go out in 8 years and find some other areas that you can condemn into density so that you can make up the difference. In other words, a deficit.
So
your partner said there's a deficit there that you have to make up.
Yes, so that's something that your staff has already gotten ahead of, where the city is pursuing significantly more rezoning than is required in this cycle to prevent having to go through this whole rezoning process, site selection process again in 8 years. They're rezoning almost 3 times what's required by the RENA sites, so that if there is a situation where a site we've identified for 100 units only builds out 50, you're not immediately scrambling to find another site because you've got another one already rezoned.
And I think that's good. I think that's good. And again, I don't mean to stop you, but what I'd like to do is to add into that, and that is, we've got 630 units we're responsible for. Miracle of miracles, from the last one, we had like 115 or something, round numbers, and now we have 630 units that we have to provide for. Talk about moving the goalposts.
And that's something that we're seeing in every city in the state, is that the number of units required for the 5th cycle to the 6th cycle did increase dramatically across the board. That's not a specific thing in Grand Terrace. We're hearing that a lot across the board.
Somebody's got to push back on this stuff. We've got to go back and go, wait a minute. I mean, I understand that we don't want to get into a big legal mumbo jumbo, but somewhere along the line, we have to get some clarifications that make some sense out of this legislation. Otherwise, we're just leading ourselves right down into a painted corner. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
I also just wanted to add, based on your point, the map provided in the presentation is of the identified RENA sites on which we've projected units, but as I said, the city is pursuing significantly more rezoning than what is shown in the map, so you're not going to get that spot zoning that I think you called it the stamp zoning. All of the projects are part of a larger neighborhood picture, so there's full neighborhoods that would be included in this rezoning. We're not just picking out one parcel to be rezoned.
Okay, so you're saying that would be taken care of in the zoning. In other words, it would be,
yes,
the interpretation would get better because of the zoning.
Yes,
okay.
And that's the other
Gotcha.
point I wanted to make as well, is when you're pursuing your rezoning process and rezoning these neighborhoods, that's when you can also use your rezoning to shape it to make sure that the areas that are being rezoned do still match your neighborhood character and what is going to fit well in Grand Terrace within these densities.
Okay, all righty.
Dan, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you raised some good points, and we're trying to work within the parameters that are handed down from the state. Our job is not to argue the state policies. We're trying to get Grand Terrace to comply.
No, and I know that, and I
So,
realize we've spent the better part of $750,000 in this little effort, as the state has a tendency to move the goalposts whenever they feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like to me that it's somebody's private agenda, like Wiener, one of those idiots over there in Sacramento, that has moved those goalposts each time, and they have no regard for what's happening here. Because as I pointed out, we are different. We are unique. And yet there isn't any of that. So what you're saying is that we've got our hands behind our back, and all we're trying to do is keep from getting hit anymore. Yeah, that's not good government, but I understand the reason why, and I don't want to spend any more money than we already have trying to comply. But what kind of conversations are happening in there in Sacramento? I mean, is this just a demigod setup or something?
we
That we
can't
just
answer
have no
that.
rights anymore?
We're not part of that conversation, so I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you.
Thank you. Thank you for your candor.
Councilman Brown, do you have any questions?
Well, I think Councilmember Wilson did a really good job of expressing the frustration that all of us have. I feel like, after reading through these documents and talking with our staff, that we've identified these properties on the map to placate Sacramento, and it's going to continue to cost us money. They're going to continue to move the goalposts. We are going to see a significant number of new housing units that are developed in the Gateway project, and they'll probably get us halfway there, but none of them will fall under the criteria that's required under this plan because they'll all be market rate units. And that's the frustration. Additionally, I share Councilmember Wilson's concerns. Ideally, what I would like to see is a general plan update that includes a significant amount of zoning for master plan type communities that that makes sense from a market standpoint, but we're talking about, at that point, complicated projects where the state comes in and we have federal housing dollars that are subsidizing the development to create projects that are similar to like Blue Mountain Senior Villas that some of you are familiar with. That gets you into the other market rate potential rental type units, but those have to be zoned and developed in the appropriate areas of Grand Terrace because again, we're unique and we're different. So I'm just as frustrated, but I don't have an answer because we have no vote in Sacramento. So that's it for my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I will be brief. Thank you for your presentation, both of you, and thank you for enduring our line of questioning. You know, as I'm sure you hear over and over, people are frustrated. And so, again, I have nothing to add except thank you for bringing that forward. I know that our residents over and over again get concerned about the character of the city and what it's been, you know, evolving and changing. And frankly, it's going to continue to happen as long as legislation continues to come down, and we have to pretty much be with our, you know, with their foot on our necks with deciding what happens in the city and how it's developed. So thank you again for being here, for allowing this presentation to go on record, so that way when our residents again have that concern, we're able to reference them back to this moment and show them, you know, it's not a decision that this council decided, that we decided to take land and just, you know, do a stack and build. It is through the orders of what's happening in Sacramento that we're required to, otherwise we would lose governance over our own local municipality. So thank you.
Hold on. Go ahead, Jeff. I'll wait for my questions.
You know, for any of the residents out there, you know, Councilmember Wilson talked about, you know, somebody needs to push back, and I agree, and all that stuff. But the residents, just so you know, that there are some cities in California that try pushing back. The most famous one is Huntington Beach. And they're still pushing back, and they're in it for about $25 million right now in fines and penalties. And so you see, that's why we don't push back, because we don't have that kind of pushback money, you know. I mean, that's why we comply and we work with the state and that sort of thing. It'd be nice to push back. I wish we had that kind of muscle, but we don't. So thanks for understanding. We don't like it. We like it a lot less than you do, as you residents who are frustrated by this. We're sorry. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, well, so let me ask you a question. So if a property owner falls with that rezoning there, and they have a beautiful house on there, and they decide to add an ADU, do they have to be in compliance for this rezoning for, you know, this low income because they can't add the ADU, or they can still add the ADU that the state says all right? I mean, do they have to put a 20 housing complex, you know, because they want to add one ADU because the state, we just rezoned them?
No, their existing rights do not change. That's why we kind of put that slide in there and we kind of bolded that is basically this becomes additive. So their existing rights remain. They're not obligated to build in any particular way. They have to comply with the zoning. That's fine. But they would keep their home. They can build an ADU or not. It's up to the property owner how they want to develop.
So if the property owner sells his property and developer comes in and knocks down the home, he could develop?
Exactly.
Okay. So the property owner still has the right to do what they want with their property. I'm just clarification to make so other people can understand.
Yeah.
If they want to add an ADU, because we do have some properties with big lots, they can go ahead and add the ADU that the state mandates. All right. As far as fighting back, I'm on the SCAG committee. I drive 3 hours to LA once a month, and it's crazy just to go 3 hours on the road to go there. But I'm on the Housing and Economic Development. So they are fighting back. Even the lawyers, you guys nailed it. They come up with a plan, and the state does move the goalpost, and they come up with another plan. So somebody's making money off all this, not saying anything about the lawyers making money, but I'm just saying, everybody is against it because it's a gun to their head. Unfortunately, residents blame the city. It's not the city's fault. Now, I know Councilman Wilson is not Senator Wiener's negotiator or anything, and he's not going to back him up or anything, but that's when you guys, the voters, start voting. Like I said, now, we have a good assembly and a good senator. So read the fine print. Don't look after the wolf in sheep clothing that says one thing and do the other, because everybody changes their course of action like a month or two before voting. Remember their record. That's my voting thing. But I just want a clarification. The only way it'll change if there's a house on there, if they sell it to a developer, the property owner that's there now.
Well, a property owner could develop their property as well.
If they want to, but
Yeah,
with these
they don't have
prices
to.
here, it's crazy. So I don't know how to do it, because that's one of our big things, even with the League of Cities, the cost the developer has to associate. That's why the lots are getting smaller. The state's asking more and more for the developer. They can't cut anymore. If you want affordable housing, you get rid of the CEQA and all this environmentalist stuff, the red tape in California, you'll get affordable housing. And even the senator knows that. So you cut the red tape and the bureaucrat stuff, we'll have affordable housing for people. And affordable housing is not Section 8. Affordable housing is for young people who are paying $3,500 for rent that want to buy a house nowadays. It's crazy, and I understand how crazy it is. But so the questions went to comments. I'm sorry. There's no more question to comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, sir. Patricia Farley.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I know that everybody's being set up to support bullshit coming from people that we should be able to trust, and they proved that you cannot trust them. They lie. I can't trust that they're not going to damage my property because I've watched. I'm not that old, but I've spent a lot of years here, in Orange County. I know, first of all, you've got attorneys that are supposed to help people. They are ripping off associations. They are undermining attorneys that are trying to help the homeowners. They are misrepresenting to the city and everybody else what's going on. This is happening in education. Okay, let me read this first to you. I am
Ms. Farley, please look at us when you're addressing the council, please. Not the
I'm
audience.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very wound up because of all the stuff. Everything is
sure we
falling
all
on
are.
people, and it's not right. I am alarmed and offended by the RHNA proposed site map where the unique and special home, which my family has owned and maintained since 1950, is identified as an area where the city proposes to put a density of approximately 20 units, actually maybe 40. I feel this demonstrates the lack of knowledge and appreciation of the value of my property and my rights. I was never consulted regarding this proposal. My property consists of 2 parcels of land that both share buildings, landscaping, my yard. How dare somebody say it's underused? What do you want to use it for, a dump? These people are stupid. The problems they're creating are predictable, and we're all sitting here getting intimidated by it. We're getting screwed, and none of us can pay. Okay, I want to keep going. My property has a property line going right through under buildings, my pool, whatever. Okay, they want to rip it out. I got more flexibility and nicer property that's contributing to this city. It's a nice property. My property consists of, my property is well maintained. It's a nice corner. It's an anchor property at the corner of Michigan and Van Buren. I am very knowledgeable and experienced regarding the huge, and I'm not exaggerating, risk for people buying into HOAs. CCRs are being blatantly undermined and destroyed by government mandates. Dishonest attorneys. There are attorneys that know and try and tell people, and they're having to watch the people that are going to sue them and go to the
All right,
Supreme
Ms.
Court.
Farley, your time's up, ma'am. We understand your complaint. We already we have your email.
Okay, I am.
Ma'am, your time's up.
Okay.
Your time's up. Ma'am, your time's up.
Can I say one
No,
sentence?
no, ma'am, your time's up. We have your complaint. We understand your concerns. I love your property too. Your time's up. I have to give it to other people. I understand. We have your letter right here. The city's doing what we can. You already heard that we're fighting the state. We don't have money to fight the state. We don't even have money for extra sheriffs because people don't want to vote a penny in. So we're doing our best we can with very little. And we will fight for you, all right? Your property will not be developed while you are still there. Did you not hear me ask him, what about the property owner's rights? Your rights are there. Conrad, is her property on the map for being on this thing?
It is one of the identified
It is one of them.
Yes.
So, but she can maintain her property and she can maintain her rights and nobody can touch it.
No, they're putting a threat on my property.
They are not putting a threat on your property.
They are, and I won't
Ma'am,
tolerate it.
they are not, the state's putting a threat on your property.
You're right.
There is no
but
requirement.
you need to
Ma'am,
acknowledge
you are
what I'm
arguing
saying.
with me. This is,
Can we
we
turn off the
don't,
microphone,
ma'am,
Daisy?
you're done. Thank you. We got your information. We will fight for you to make sure your property stays solid.
You're
I
not
promise you that.
understanding all I know.
I promise you that your property will stay solid. Your property will be maintained the same and stay solid as long as you're living in there and you don't sell it to developers. I'm not selling it to anyone. I know you're not. It's a beautiful property, but you are good. So, okay. Do we have any other comments?
No, sir, but just for the record, you guys all do have that letter in front of you from Ms.
Yes, we do have this letter and it will be in public record and we will maintain this letter. Okay, so we had no more public comment. We'll go and close that. Do we have any other questions for staff or for any other questions? Yes.
No question. Question, I was going to move the item. Make a motion.
Okay, one other question I have. How much did it cost for this whole, Conrad, to do all this paperwork?
We're about 5 years and about $750,000 into it.
$750,000?
Yeah, about. We've had to make a
So
couple
if
of
the
runs at
state
it to
didn't
get-
put a gun to our head, we could use that $750,000 for something else?
Yeah.
Okay. So people, remember to vote who you want to vote for. Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Allen. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes and Councilmember Wilson has voted no.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Farley, we will protect your property. Okay. Item number, well, let me just say, so, City Attorney, you have anything to say on this?
On which item? On the what?
Item 9 that we just voted for. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you before.
No, that item does not need to be read.
So item 9, adoption resolution approving general plan has amendment 2501 for 2021 and 2029. Housing element has passed the city. Item 10, zoning code amendment CCA 2404, introduction to the first reading of the ordinance amended to Grand Terrace Municipal Code. Presented by Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, public. I'm Scott Hutter, Planning Development Services Director. This item tonight is a public hearing for the introduction and first reading of an ordinance approving a zoning code amendment known as ZCA 24-04. The staff report for this item tonight goes more in depth of what I want to speak to. It has a thorough summary of all changes to all code sections. In addition, it details all the different changes and edits that were made based upon 2 reviews and runs at this by the Planning Commission both in November of last year and February of this year. Additionally, attached to the staff report, we have the ordinance, which is attachment 1, which has the findings of fact and the actual body of the finalized code edits to the municipal code. For everybody to understand what was actually changed, added, or deleted, we have red line edits as attachment 2, all new languages in red, and all deleted languages in strike through. And then for the third attachment, we have our environmental exception finding. A little bit of background. Last year in 2024, the city updated its standard hours of operation for businesses as a part of overall zoning code update, where we added a land use table. At that meeting, the city council directed staff, myself and my team, to go back through the municipal code to ensure that noise and business hours are harmonious with the changes we had made at that time to the land use table and hours of operation for businesses. This ZCA 2404 municipal code amendment represents that cleanup of the municipal code. It focuses on the hours, the noise, and additional miscellaneous fixes, which I'll detail in this presentation, that we cleaned up while we're in there. The Planning Commission, as I mentioned, did go through this ZCA 2404. They went through it at a lengthy discussion in November 21st of 24. I believe it was about a 2-hour discussion, and then we had a follow-up February 27th of this year, where we had another lengthy, about hour-and-a-half discussion. Out of both meetings, the Planning Commission provided good feedback and information, and those were all worked into the final product, which is before the council and the public tonight in ZCA 2404. Additionally, out of this project, we did have 2 points that the Planning Commission asked me to bring up with the council. They asked the council to consider having the city attorney and planning staff explore 2 things. One was firework prohibition, and the second one was reviewing residential care facility standards in a municipal code. So those are just 2 points we'll seek direction on in addition to the actual zone change amendment. When it comes to hours, we found a number of code sections in subject matter that had hours that were listed within the municipal code. Within this ZCA 2404, we have some final numbers and times. I've highlighted them here on this slide. So for garage sales, it's 7 a.m. to sunset. For trash service, for your single-family home, it's 6:30 to 5. For multifamily homes and commercial properties, it's 6 a.m. to 5, and those hours can be modified by the city manager. For massage establishments, it's 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. For fireworks, it's 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the 4th of July. For sidewalk vending, it's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and or sunset, whichever is earlier. For parks, it's 7 a.m. to sunset, with the city manager having the authority to approve alternative hours for the parks. For generator testing within the public right-of-way for cell towers, which was in the code under chapter 1256, we set it from 8 a.m. to sunset. For temporary signs that businesses can deploy in the public right-of-way, we set at the 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And for residential care facilities, which has a time set for outdoor activities for the residents, we set 7 a.m. to sunset. The Planning Commission was keen on using the sunset as our litmus test, whereas dusk was used previously, but sunset is a definable time, so that's what we went with the update. Regarding noise, when we went into the noise section of the code, which is chapter 8.108, it was rather lacking, so we had to do a lot of expansion and fixing up of that code section. We turned to our neighbor Loma Linda for a lot of defensible language to incorporate. Key things we did include within that section were expanding the exemptions. So big picture things such as church activities, school activities, government activities, utility repairs, trash service pickups, railroads, landscaping activities, air conditioning, pool equipment in your house, residential yard work and car work between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. specifically. Those are the sorts of things we worked into the exemptions to make sure we covered all real-world scenarios where we wouldn't want to be picking on regarding noise and things of that nature. Regarding our overall code, one thing that was severely lacking was performance standards. So we did insert those noise level standards for land uses within the basically noise ordinance of the city. So now we do have actual stipulated noise levels we can enforce, which we did not previously. And to have those and to enforce them, we need measurement criteria. So we now have incorporated and established noise level measurement criteria, so we know how to measure that noise so we can enforce it. We did, with the Planning Commission's direction, break out and define construction. As it is in the ordinance, it's 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekends, and no construction on New Year's Day, Thanksgiving Day, or Christmas Day. Regarding this item before you, there is one little addition edit that we've added to this item, which is in preparing for this meeting tonight, we did note that there is no building official exception for the hours of construction, which needs to be in there, so the building official can, based upon the merit of the project, set specific hours above and beyond what's stipulated. An example would be if there has to be some sort of, like, say, refrigerator replacement or improvement inside the Stater Brothers, but it has to occur after hours or, you know, early morning hours to avoid conflict with patrons. He could approve such a change in hours of construction so they could get that done. Still, of course, going through the permit process and being inspected, and of course having no impact on exterior activities or surrounding properties because it would be interior. But it gives them that flexibility. So we inserted that language, and it's before everybody in a little addendum sheet the city clerk passed out. I mentioned there's also miscellaneous revisions. So because when we do these municipal code updates, such as this ZCA 2404, there's a lot of other things we come across throughout the year, both myself and Assistant Planner Gabriel Arguelles come across, and we want to note those and fix them along the way. So I've bullet pointed the key ones here. The top one here is home occupation permit. That's a permit that planning and zoning issues is separate from a business license, which you still would have to obtain. That goes to anybody operating basically home office or a business from their actual residence. Currently, those can go on for a month to 2 months to 3 months, which is way too long. So we've streamlined the language in the code to stipulate shot clocks of 10 days for a compliant, 14 days for a non-compliant that might have a little difference in the standards. We're trying to close that gap to a definable time because we've heard a lot of feedback from home-based businesses that are just not happy with how long the traditional process has taken. So we want to cut that down to around 2 weeks, which is a big win. Sidewalk vending, when we got this through the Planning Commission, they had brought up concerns about the section and wanting to see security cameras because of associated crime and things that are perpetrated upon sidewalk vendors. So we did incorporate, with the Planning Commission's help, security camera requirement into the language for sidewalk vending. And that could be a body cam worn by the sidewalk vendor and or camera mounted on their cart, so to speak. And within that requirement, they have to maintain digital copy of the previous week's worth of recordings to be provided if necessary to the city or law enforcement. Regarding commercial vehicle storage, we have a section that talks about what is not allowed on your residential property, 18-wheeler trucks, things of that nature. One thing we noted was it did include recreational vehicle trailers. Those are completely regulated by a separate zoning section, which talks about recreational vehicles on your property, and they conflicted, so we're just omitting it from that chapter 10.16 section for consistency and clarity. We didn't want that conflict, so it's well regulated under chapter 18 zoning, so we fixed that. Residential irrigation versus agricultural irrigation. When we looked at the hours, there were times set for when you could irrigate your home, in your single-family home, so to speak. We did talk with the city attorney and the Planning Commission. We could not change those hours. They were set by the state, so we left them alone, but there was a little bit of dialogue with the commission, and there was clarity we needed on if you have an agricultural overlay zone, we have 2 of them, and you're doing large-scale irrigation for farming purposes, we want to make sure that that is regulated separately and safely and smartly than from what would happen at your home. So we, per the Planning Commission, incorporated a conditional use permit requirement for irrigation of crops in the agricultural overlay zones. So those now fall to the Planning Commission for review and approval of hours and how you irrigate if anybody chooses to go that route with those agricultural crops. Regarding multiple family rooms, within the zoning code specifically, There was a cap of 2 bedrooms for any multiple family product. It was a footnote in the land use development table. We're removing that cap, so condos, townhomes, apartments can be greater than 2 bedrooms. We also took the opportunity to update the size requirements for both 1, 2, 3, and 3+ bedrooms. We turned to the minimum square footages that Loma Linda used because our neighboring city of Loma Linda went through a lot of effort with the state to come up with definable minimums that were acceptable. So there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, so we incorporated those square footages into the table. Objective design standards, that's a process that was adopted a couple years ago by the city, which gives, for a quality project, it meets a whole stipulation of criteria within the municipal code, the ability to be a ministerial project. One of the key requirements in there that we ran into that was giving some grievance to applicants was the requirement for green building, which is known as LEED certification. Currently, the way it's structured, it's at platinum, which is the highest level of LEED, which is very difficult to achieve on smaller projects and has a significant level of cost. So we're revising the objective design standards to make LEED level choice that of the applicant. So should they choose to do the entry level, like a bronze or just certification, or a silver or a gold, and if they want to shoot for a platinum, they're more than welcome to do so. They still have to do LEED. They still have to bring us a better product. They have to do more green building materials in their product, but they now have the choice, which we feel will be much more helpful for developers. Regarding commercial signs, we did an update. There was a section in the code that said any sign within 100 feet of a residential property could not light up. When we looked at that in practice, that would be almost every sign on a commercial building along Barton Road and throughout the city. So we figured the intent of that was a sign facing a residential property. So we updated it to now read if you have a commercial building and it's within 100 feet of residential property and the sign's facing, like we'll use an example, let's say like Starbucks, if they have any kind of signage on the back side, it could not light up, but the one facing Barton Road could light up. So we fixed that. In conclusion, this zone change amendment 2404 does support the city's 2030 vision statement, supports the goal number 3, along with the general plan land use implementation plan goals of 2.1 and 2.3 and policies 2.14 and 2.35. Environmental review was completed for this. It was determined to be exempt from the California State Environmental Quality Act, the common sense exemption. We're just doing cleanups and updates to our municipal code. There's no project or development associated with this project, so there's no foreseeable impact on the environment. Notification was done for this project. It was published in the Grand Terrace City News and posted in all the public places by our city clerk, and no comments were received by my team to date. All necessary findings for approval have been made for this zone change amendment, and they're also included within the ordinance for the item. The fiscal impact is none. All costs to process this were borne by myself and Gabriel, who worked hard with me on this, so we appreciate the effort. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council conduct the public hearing tonight, introduce for first reading this ordinance approving the zone change amendment 24-04 with the addition of the language that the building official may adjust the construction hours at his discretion or her discretion, and then provides myself, city planning staff with direction on land use issues regarding firework prohibition and residential care facility code updates based upon the concerns of the Planning Commission. That concludes my presentation to the council. I'm available for any questions or comments that the city council may have or the public as well. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for that report. Just a couple of questions. Page 343, item number 24, with the new hours for the backup generators for the wireless telecommunications. It states new hours 8 a.m. to sunset, page 370 and 405. And it's probably just me, bear with me, sorry. Backup generators shall only be operated during periods of power outages and shall not be tested on weekends and holidays or between the hours of 8 a.m. and sunset. Is there, and I know this is how it was written before and we just tweaked the timing on that. are we able just to revise the verbiage so it's a little more clear that it doesn't look like you can't test it holidays, weekends, or between the hours of 8 a.m. and sunset?
100%. It's our language, and it's in our right-of-way, so we can adjust this more than just the proposed changes that are there. We can rewrite the whole little section there.
Oh, yeah, because it just, I'm not dense, I apologize. But I did read it twice, and I said, okay, the way it's broken up and grammatically, it shows that they can test it during power outages or between the hours, but the way it reads with that, that preface shall not be tested, it reads almost as if you can't test it holidays, weekends, and so that was my first statement. My second one is in reference to the sidewalk vending. How many permits do we have for sidewalk vendors in general?
There's one permit, and we have one application currently, is my understanding.
Okay. And I know during the power outages, we had food vendors present here at City Hall. And I know that food vendors were allowed previously with the permission of our organizations who were at the respective facilities. Is that something we're going to look at, add in, bring in, consider?
Not at this time. I believe this is just focusing on the push cart type of sidewalk vending in the right-of-way.
This is push cart vending. Food vendors, as a rule, are not allowed anywhere in the city unless they're tied to a city-sponsored event.
Okay.
So what we don't want to do is have food vendors post up on a sidewalk in front of Loud
Certainly.
Burger selling hamburgers.
No, I completely agree with that, but does that apply to, do soccer or baseball, does that count as an event? Tied to an event?
It's not a city-sponsored event, and we run into, and I don't want to steal Steve's thunder because that's why he's here, and we run into these at the parks. I am going to steal your thunder. Is that okay, Steve? I am going to comment on your if that's all right. Is at the parks, and Kona Ice has been magnificent as far as supporting and sponsoring activities, events here in the city. But as soon as we let somebody vend in the park, we have to let everybody vend in the park. And if we let somebody that says, I'm vending, I'm giving it to Little League, then the next guy says, I'm giving some to Little League. And we can't allow that inside the parks. So we do not allow any vending inside the parks. As much as I'd like to have guys like Steve in here doing this, it's just the wrong. Then we have to open up to the taco shop and everybody else that does vending as well. So at this point, we do not allow vending in the parks.
Okay, but just for push carts?
Not push carts either.
Okay, sidewalk vending.
Sidewalk, outside the park, on the sidewalk, is sidewalk vending. But inside the park, we do not allow vending.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. That's all.
Councilman Allen?
About those sidewalk vendors that Mayor Pro Tem was talking about, I wanted to ask about the camera requirement. Can you give me an example? I mean, I'm thinking of the only street vendor I can recall in our city recently is the gentleman who sells ice cream out of the push cart. And I'm thinking to myself, where's this guy going to put a security camera? Is he going to like put it on his hat and wear it like that? Like, I mean,
it could be on his persons. It could be on his cart.
Is this something other cities require when they get peddler's license?
You know, oddly enough, it is. I did do some research after it came up last November at our first planning commission run on this, and I did find cities like Fresno and other places that have included requirements as a crime deterrent to have cameras required for the sidewalk vending.
And I'm wondering if it's if we're putting an onerous burden on the vendor, you know, I mean, there's not a huge profit margin in selling ice cream sandwiches. And I think a security camera is pretty onerous cost there. I just wanted to throw that out there. I just think we're doing that. I mean, it seems like we're trying to discourage street vendors.
Yeah,
is what we're-
I could say, I was along the same thinking as you. I did look into like the GoPro cameras, kind of a standard, what a lot of folks use, and you're looking at an easy $500 to $700 for the camera and the kit to set it up. So that's what I priced out on Amazon, looking at just like the GoPro angle.
Yeah, like I said. Okay. Second point I'd like to say is that I think that the term parlor, when attached to massage, is a term that's old and antiquated and has taken on a kind of a negative meaning over the past few years. And I think that we need to, because I don't believe you'll find any medical massage certified licensed technicians who advertise their places as parlors. And I think that that word needs to be excised from this document and replaced with the more up-to-date, modern medical massage, whatever. Contact the establishments we have here in town, the medical massage, ask them how they want to be referred to. Ask them if parlor's okay. And if it's not, find out what they want, and then let's use that, because I don't think parlor is okay. The last thing I wanted to say is on packet page 342, item number 19, which is amending the fireworks hours, relating to when the hours when safe and signed fireworks can be discharged on the 4th of July, and the discharge of fireworks end time is being changed from 11 p.m. to 10 p.m., which is an hour earlier. There's a note, says Planning Commission asked that City Council work with City Attorney and City staff at what it would take to prohibit fireworks in the city. I like that you put that note in there and that the Planning Commission has asked that the City Council work, and so I think that we need to take that note seriously, what our Planning Commission has asked us to do. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Just a clarifying statement regarding the massage parlor verbiage. California Department of Consumers Association, where licensing comes out of, they're just referred to as massage therapists. So, I mean, even massage therapy facility, if we want to be technical and align it with state verbiage. That's all.
Councilman Brown?
I was going to say, or we could just mirror the county and go with massage clinic, because the county issues massage clinic business license. Yeah, that's the county's process. I had a question for you, though.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the, you said wireless communication generator hours. We're specifically talking about generators that are utilized to power cell phone towers during power outages, are we not?
That's correct. That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear for the public, because all of our cell phones would go down if those towers didn't have emergency power, and that would just add to the pain of sitting in dark homes. So anyway, I've gone over this, all these changes, and for the last couple of days, been pouring through them. I think you guys have done an excellent job, and I don't have any more questions at this time, so thank you for the presentation.
I have a couple questions. First of all, can they use their cell phone for the recording? Because it does have a recording mode, video.
If they have enough space or connected to a cloud, I don't see why not.
And then also, when I used to walk on Mount Vernon, besides getting hit by cars almost all the time, I had a little tiny hat camera. It was $34, and it had pretty much a lot of storage. So I don't see the issue on that. One, it CYA's the vendor from being put up against any, like, hey, they're doing illegal activities and stuff. So I don't see any issues with that. The other thing is, when the Planning Commission recommend that we look into the fireworks and possibly, what would you say, Jeff? What page is that again?
It's item 19 on 342. And and it says, Planning Commission asks the City Council work with city attorney and city staff at what it would take to prohibit fireworks in the city.
Okay, so I don't know why the planning commission asked that. The voters brought that in. I don't want to waste our money, what the voters voted for. So if the voters don't want to have fireworks anymore, that's up to them to get that going and bring that forward. But I'm not going to take away voters' rights who worked hard to get that in there, but the planning commission recommended. That's my recommendation. We just scrap that. The residential, well, the housing care, you know, like home care, not home care, residential care. Does the Wallace House fall under the residential care?
No, I believe that's going to be a different type of state facility than the traditional, I believe, 6 or fewer people that would be out of a normal single-family home.
So this is just for home residential care then? It's not for if we're opening up another residential care without being a resident?
Correct.
Because they're all residential care, they're staying there.
Yeah, these are the care that you would see out of a traditional neighborhood home. There was an hour limitation to when they could have activities out of a single-family home for those folks staying at a residential care. So that's what prompted the commission.
The reason I was asking that, if the Wallace House fell in there and the hours from 7 a.m. to sunset, I like to change those hours so they can't come out to the community unless they have a job until after the kids are in school. So that was why I was asking that, but thanks for the clarification. On the vending for the parks, now I understand what the city manager said, if we open up that Pandora box, but we're picking on Steve tonight, Kona Ice, who does that, he could apply for a street vendor and then park outside the park, Conrad?
Yeah.
So the only thing on that is I'm worried about
Hold
is.
on, because he would fall under the food truck criteria, so no.
So he can do that?
No, he cannot, because.
He cannot go under.
He would fall as a food truck, because then we have to allow a taco truck out there, which competes with our
Okay.
brick and, philosophically, we don't want food truck vendors competing with our brick and mortar vendors. So if we allow this, then we have to allow taco trucks and pizza trucks and.
Right. No, I understand that. We don't want to take away from our brick and mortar business, but nobody has Kona Ice. So how could, on that, you said that the city doesn't take care of the youth sports, the soccer and the baseball. It's not a city event, but we utilize city property, and we do give city money, and we do give them permits to do that, and our youth and our board does take care of it, and they have meetings. So how could we go about doing that where the board members can authorize a vendor to come in for their fundraiser events and special events like that? Because I know when I coached, each family, each team had to do a special event, a food vendor or something like that. We had to get the board went and got permission for that. So how could the board continue to fundraise if they bring in a food vendor that's not going to interrupt with our brick and mortar?
So those organizations rent the parks from us. So we would have to treat that as any other rental. Or carve out some, I'm trying to figure out a way to do this on the fly. Carve out some rental that's specific to those groups. I don't know how legal that is versus just you wanting to have a food truck for your family gathering at the park when you're renting a shelter there. The other one is how do we constrain the good nature of, Little League has 12 different food trucks and they're all contributing to Little League. Who do they turn away or do they take them all? And we've defeated the purpose of that. Not to pick on Little League, sorry, Tommy, if you're here.
So Tommy doesn't care anyway. He still owes me some, he called strikes and there were balls that were hitting the dirt. I don't know what the heck happened. I still remember that when he was referee. I told you I'd get you back someday, buddy. But my thing is, I know what you say, don't open up like 10 or 15 vendors. But if we did that rental and we limit, hey, you could have 2 food vendors or 3 on a rotation basis, can we work on something like that?
We can explore it, but it gets really challenging because if we're allowing 2 food vendors, then I have to allow them for the Hussey family reunion too. And then I have to allow them for anybody that rents if it's part of the park.
Okay.
So we open this door to essentially having the parks, and if that's where we want to go, I mean, it's not. in
I'm
one
just
respect,
asking
it'd
the
be kind
question,
of cool
so-
to have a food truck parked at the park every Saturday, but I don't know that our brick and mortar stores would really
So for
enjoy
Steve
that.
to be legal, he'll have to push a cart and make Kona Ice that way.
Yeah, and if you get some bells that rattle, that'd be really great. But, yeah, at this point, and unfortunately for Steve, you know, he's been so good to us, it kills me because he falls in the niche of a food truck, not a pushcart vendor. And we have to treat him like that. And we can explore, but that's the best, we're not gonna come to a solution here.
Well, I know we're not going
We're
to
just
come, but if there's something we could, I mean, that's up to the other council. But Mayor Pro Tem, you have a question? Oh, you're fine? Okay. So, yeah, that was, anybody else have any other questions on it? No? Well, thank you, Scott. And then, not picking on, you know, I appreciate all the work that the Planning Commission does, especially the housing element and everything they do. You know, you guys do a lot of work on that, so I appreciate that.
I know we're not going to hash it out or come to a resolution here, but just to throw more spaghetti on the wall,
Don't waste spaghetti.
if it has to be a city-sponsored event, and we have food trucks at things like the Blue Mountain Festival or our Fall Festival or our Trunk or Treat, could those not be opportunities for our food vendors to be able to fundraise at that time, to be able to contribute back to these organizations who right now are not able to? Are there any restrictions that would prohibit any of them from being able to give a portion of their funds, whether they run it the first hour, the first 2 hours, or whatnot of any of these events, to be able to contribute back to our local youth organizations?
There's no restrictions right now. Once again, it's something we can explore.
Okay, no other questions. We'll open up the public comment. Daisy?
Steve G.
Sorry, Steve.
We just wanted you to stay here longer, that's all.
Well, thank you very much. Again, my name is Steve Gnecco. I'm a resident. My wife and I own Kona Ice in Moreno Valley, and we do it by territories, and that's why we are called Moreno Valley, because that's where we lived when we first started, and now we live here. I did pick the right night to come, and obviously, because we went through this in Moreno Valley. When we started, we were not allowed to vend in the parks. And we said, now what do? We just bought a business. And so we went to the city council, we went through our chamber, we went through all the avenues we needed to. We met with the city, and we came up with a process of approved vendors. And those approved vendors have to provide their city license, their county license, all the permits and things that we've already done. And you provide them to the city, and you have insurance, you provide that. I guess if you wanted to charge a fee, you could do that. But the bottom line is, once you're an approved vendor, then once the soccer team or the baseball team or whoever it is, maybe it's a person who wants to have a party at the park and they want to have somebody just come and do ice cream or tacos, you know, there should be a truck. We're licensed in the county. We can go anywhere in the county legally. And we're doing all the rules we're supposed to do. The only thing stopping us is the city rule. So as long as you say that we've met all the regulations and we're good to go, we should be able to do this. And you should have a list that says Kona Ice is good, or this truck is good, this truck is good. And when somebody says, I want to have a party, who can I have at the park? You guys can go, oh, you can call Joe's Taco Truck, and they can come and do it. And unless you have permission to be there, you're not allowed in the park. And that's how we operate in Moreno Valley. We never go to a park. There are ice cream trucks in the park all the time, not a Kona Ice truck. And that's how we operate. And we always ask for permission We never asked for forgiveness. And every time I've asked for permission, I've been told you can do it, then I'm told you can't do it. Every time. This has been going on for almost 10 years. We don't allow food trucks. Oh, but you can do it, and then no, then you can't. And that's what I was told. So that's where we're at right now. And so
All right,
vendors, approved vendors is the way to go.
Okay, why don't your chamber set up a meeting with our city manager and provide information so we could look at that, because Conroe City is open to that, but, you know, that's why you guys have a chamber, and have the chamber come in and make an appointment for Conrad so he could look at stuff and bring it back to the council, all right? So
Okay.
we'll start somewhere,
Yeah,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Irwin.
So y'all get 1 minute, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening. I just wanted to go on record as Renee Walker. I'm the president of soccer, and I wanted to address the fireworks issue.
And I'm Tommy Rivero. I'm the president of Little League. We want to just be proactive, and I'm glad we have some support. I know we got some new council members, so I know this has been on the agenda over the years multiple times. And we would like to have the opportunity to have a sit down with you guys to let you guys know how it benefits both leagues. You know, it's our biggest fundraiser for both leagues. And, you know, before you guys think about getting rid of the fireworks booth, like Mayor Hussey said, you know, the residents voted against it. And we were going to bring all of our kids here, but we'll wait for a later time. But we hope to have the opportunity to have a conversation with you guys before it goes for a vote.
Yeah, and I'm Richard Irwin. I'm the director of coaches. I'm a 39-year resident of Grand Terrace. I've coached for 34 years here. Some people think I'm the Yoda of Grand Terrace soccer. The closest thing I am to that is I'm getting grayer and older and fatter and uglier as time goes on. My concern is whether we can get a commitment from this tribunal, okay, today to indicate that if something does change and you do consider a prohibition decision by this tribunal, you will agree to meet with our soccer board and the Little League before that happens, okay? I think that's critical. You have a fiduciary duty. It's a duty of trust to your constituents, just as I, as a lawyer, have a duty to my clients. And the only other thing I would like a commitment from you is to agree to serve not only the aged, such as myself, but also the littlest constituents in this wonderful community, and it is a wonderful community, are children that don't have a say, okay? And that's the two commitments that I would really appreciate today if we can get that. I think that's a reasonable request.
Thank you. You still got time if you want to say anything else.
Well, okay.
Just don't give it to Tommy.
I can dance a little. I look like a chicken with an arrow in it, but no, you know, one beautiful thing I do, I'm involved with, and I'm not congratulating myself. I coach a special needs program. I started here 12 years ago. Okay, these are players and young people that are better than most people I know, quite frankly. Okay, they have hope, they have joy when they're out on the soccer field or even, you know, a baseball field. We have a program, if I could just have one more minute, if that's okay. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. I don't want that joy taken away from them. I don't want that hope taken away from them. I invite you all sometime to come out to a game or a practice. And I ask two things. You have an open heart and a smile on your face. And I guarantee by the time you leave, that smile will be on your heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please send us schedules on the games. And I know every time it's Little League's opening season, it's like rain or something. You guys are cursed like our Grand Terrace days, so.
Yeah.
But thank you.
And I have a question. Is it possible to get that commitment that I asked today?
For us to come?
No, that if it does come a decision-making
Well,
process.
this is the first reading of the ordinance, but you heard our comments and stuff, so.
Okay,
Voters voted for stuff, so.
okay, but if that changes, we will be the,
Oh, you guys will hear.
okay, and we'll be part of that fact-finding process, correct? Thank you. I appreciate all your time. It's a wonderful thing you're doing for the community. Thank you.
All right, sir, thank you.
Johan Gallo.
Johan Gallo, Grand Terrace, 42 years, coming up on 43. Item 10, this issue on the generator hours. I'm concerned, given the outages that we had, and if we're going to set a limit to when they can run those generators to power the cell towers and the phone systems, I don't think we should set sunset as the end of when they can run them. My only concern in all of that is we have a lot of seniors in our community that are on internet phones and they don't even know it. And all of a sudden you have generators at all these phone boxes powering everything up so people can make phone calls. And I would just ask the council to reconsider allowing anything that's going to power the phone systems throughout our city to be able to run 24/7 until we get power back. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna.
No more public comment.
No more?
No.
So we'll bring it back for comment. Mayor Pro Tem, you want to give that comment on that?
Just for clarification, the generators can run during power outages. They just can't be tested unless it's a weekday in between, between 8 and sunset. Is that correct?
You're correct. To
Okay.
unpack that section of the code under noise, it says backup generators shall only be operated during periods of power outages. So that means they can run however long that outage is. Okay. When they do their testing, which I believe can be monthly typically, that testing for whatever 15 minutes they have to make sure that they're running shall only be done within a certain time frame, which here is between 8 a.m. and sunset.
Thank you.
Okay, clarification question for the lawyer. I'm going to let you make your money tonight. What was brought up, the recommendation for the Planning Commission, I don't know who recommended, but to look at to eliminate fireworks, but it was brought by the voters. Is there any legal stance to do that?
Okay, two things on that. So when you referenced the voters, I went to the current code and looked at the ordinance that adopted it. So the ordinance that adopted it was adopted in 2015, ordinance number 285. And pulling up the ordinance, usually when it's something via the initiative process or it went to the voters, there's some reference in the ordinance that it did, and this ordinance did not say anything to that effect. So I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying that the ordinance itself isn't clear on that point. Generally speaking, if an ordinance was adopted via the voter process, it has to go back to the voters for removal, rescission, things of that sort, or an amendment. If it wasn't, then it would be up to the city council to go ahead and take any action. And procedurally, the city can, if it didn't go to the voters, the city council could just simply amend the ordinance to remove any ability for the sale of or use of fireworks in the city. Yes, and correct, and thank you, Conrad. So tonight, what's only on the agenda is the hours that fireworks may be discharged. If the council was interested in looking at removing the ability to use fireworks in the city, then we would have to properly agendize that for discussion.
So if we properly agendize that, we'll have to bring in other sheriffs to walk us to the car?
I won't speak on that, but yes.
No, I'm just joking. But no, thank you for the clarification on that. I remember back in 2015 coaching, and that was a big fundraiser. And I know other leagues want to get involved, but our city's too small. And we're blessed over here because the leagues they don't have to pay Stater Brothers $10,000, correct? Because we have that special parking. when we did it for the high schools and everything, we got extorted $10,000 for where the booth was at because we took away some of their parking. And that was a big hit. So that's why I'm just bringing this up, because it was a lot of work back then. And it's not the safe and sane fireworks, it's the illegal fireworks that hinder and stuff, you know, that do all the problems. So I just want clarification for everybody on that, so. But that'd be up, so if the council wants to go with the planning commission's recommendation, then the council has to ask for a future agenda for that, and it's got to pass us to go for the future agenda, otherwise it's dead.
That is correct, yes.
And if nobody asks for a future agenda, we're just amending the hours for the safe and sane to be lit.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Scott, you have anything else to add?
No, Mayor.
You know, we all appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. I'm sorry, sir, it's closed for public comment. So.
Yeah, I just thought there was further comment on that.
No, it's closed, the public comment, yeah. You could come and email, or I'm open, my office hours are from 1 to 3 on Wednesdays, or you could contact the city. All right. But no, I appreciate all the hard work the staff and everybody's doing. You know, like they said, I know you guys worked hard, and the planning commission worked hard on the RETA thing, and I know these adoption things. There's a certain reason why we had to do it. We had to maintain the city's sovereignty, and we also have, you know, to keep people, you know, so just to, because, well, first of all, lawsuits and stuff, where we let everybody in, that's the big thing. So the council doesn't have any more comments or recommendation? So we're going to do, this is, City Attorney, you have anything to add?
Yes, just so the council knows its options. Option one is you can introduce the ordinance as is, as written in the staff report tonight. That's option one. Option two is there was some suggestion about making changes to language or things of that sort. If the council wanted to make changes to the ordinance, we would have to make those changes and make it very clear on the record what we're changing, because what we adopt goes into the municipal code. So if the council was interested in making changes, they can do it in one of two ways. They can direct staff to make those changes. Staff can go back, make those changes, we continue it to a future date and bring it back, and it's all in there and we adopt it, nicely wrapped and on with a bow on it. Option two is we go through it tonight and I identify each line that needs to be changed and put it on the record so it's clearly in the introduction, and then when it comes back, it'll be in the second reading.
Okay. So what does the council want to do?
I believe the first, not the last option, the one before that. Not the one where we go through line by line, but the one where they come back to us with the corrections and then we adopt it.
Like we usually do. Okay, so is there any corrections besides what we already asked for? Councilor Allen, you have any corrections you want to add?
Those are the only, that's all I saw.
Councilor Brown, any corrections?
I don't have any corrections.
Councilor Wilson? Mayor Pro Tem?
As discussed, just the clarification on the verbiage.
Okay, so we're going to move forward on this and bring it back for a final vote. So you need a vote today?
No, well, we do need a vote to continue the public hearing, but I would ask the director, do you have all the direction you need to make the corrections that the council has identified?
Yeah, I'll just recap so we don't miss anything. For starters, there's the request that I proposed, which I think was okay with the city council, that the building official has the authority to modify construction hours if necessary under his authority. I have the request to go through the municipal code, extract out wherever parlor is mentioned and come up with like clinic as a replacement verbiage for that, for massage clinic. And then I have a request to go to the section on backup generators and clarify it so it's really clear when can the generator run and when can it be tested, because it's kind of convoluted as the sentence is currently structured. And I believe that is everything I have a notes on, if that's correct.
Councilor Allen?
About, you said that who would have the authority to change the hours for construction work in the city?
Oh, that would be our building official.
Yeah, and what would be the reason that they would do that?
The most common example would be if they have to work at night. If there's some restriction and there would be an issue where they have to do, like, say, an interior tenant improvement in the early morning hours or late night hours.
So what typically happens, especially in a commercial environment, and I've built several Walgreens in my life, that happens at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the store is open during the day, they shut it down at 10 o'clock, construction crew comes in, does work overnight, and then they're open again in the morning. Hollywood Videos, Famous Footwears, I've done all of those things at night. So what we're looking at is, right now, you're not allowed to do any work at night. But if these are in, commercial areas, they make their argument to the building official, then in very restricted situations. Other ones, if it's really hot and they have to pour concrete, there are certain temperature restrictions they have to be on. So they could start maybe pouring at 4 o'clock in the morning one day to get outside the heat.
So, yeah.
It would be very, very specific and very job-specific related.
Okay, then, so the chances of it happening in a residential community are, wouldn't happen there, would it?
I think we would limit that to commercial. I can't
Yeah,
see
okay. That's what I'm
night
aware of how,
application. Yeah.
the businesses will work at night, in commercial business, but my concern was in the residential areas.
Okay, so if Stater Brothers, because there's residential right behind them, because I know during COVID they changed their hours for delivery. They can't come in there and say, hey, we need to do a big delivery or something, they have to come through us? Or would they?
What would happen, Stater Brothers is a great example. They would come and say, look, we're redoing all our shelving in the stores. It typically happens. They would come to the building official and say, we want to do this work at night, and he would then say, great, do it at night, but all of your staging, all of your activity has to be on the front side of the store. You're only allowed to use these, this is typically the constraints we worked under.
Okay.
You can only use these entrances, your staging has to happen here, you can't set up extra lights in these areas. So it's basically a work plan that's designed, and it's very specific for the after-hours activities. It's not just hey guys, have a great time.
All right. Any other questions, clarifications? So we're voting to bring this back. It's your turn.
Yes, correct. So the appropriate motion would be to continue the public hearing to the next meeting of April 8th at 6 p.m. Here in the council chambers. And if so moved, staff does not need to renotice it. It's already been noticed, and it's being noticed to a date certain. So that would be the appropriate motion.
All right, we got it? Anybody want to make a motion? Councilman Allen with the motion?
I'll second it.
Second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item F, unfinished business, none. New business, none. Future agenda items. Does the council want to recommend any future agenda items?
Did he make a motion and seconded his own motion?
Who made the motion? Yeah, Alan.
He made a motion and seconded it?
Did you make a motion and second it? No, you motioned and I seconded it. Okay, I'll do the motion, you second it, so there you go. We good, Daisy? I said, does anybody want to make a motion and second it? My hearing aids aren't working that well. You want us to revote? Okay.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion, Councilman Allen will second it. Please vote. Now I'm gone. One
Motion
council
passes. Thank
meeting.
you.
That's what I get for leaving the state, huh? Jeez. So does anybody want to do a future agenda item? Recommendation? No?
I do have an item I'd like to bring up.
All right.
Okay, kind of two parts. So future agenda item, and I'm going to make some comments. And
Well, just,
no
well,
comments
the
from me.
future
Okay.
agenda items. the
So
comments are-
I would move that we bring a resolution back to the council sometime next month. I would leave that up to the discretion of the city manager to request to delay AQMD rules 1111 and 1121. And I think you're familiar with those, but what the Southern California Air Quality Management District is proposing a rule. Essentially, it's kind of like a regulatory body that regulates stationary air pollution. And so their proposal, in their infinite wisdom, is to prohibit us and eliminate the use of gas, natural gas, heaters, and water heaters in our homes. And so some of the counties and cities have already passed resolutions in opposition to this measure. It's AQMD rules 1111 and 1121. So I'm requesting that a resolution be brought back, requesting the continuance of the rules or whatever the COG is recommending at that time, because this is still being pushed forward by staff at AQMD. And the challenge is this is a regulatory agency that no one knows about. It's really something that's off the radar. The media isn't publicizing these rules, but they're very significant, not only to our residents, but all Southern California. It's essentially 10 counties. Ultimately, they want to prohibit and eliminate the use of natural gas. We all know how expensive the cost of living is, from gas to groceries, and they're doing this via this obscure regulatory agency. And I'm sure Councilmember Wilson has a lot of comments to make based on his earlier comments and our frustration with the state, but this is being done at a local level. There's information that they've done some economic impact studies, and it's an increase on an average family of $1,500 a year. So you're looking at plumbing, electrical upgrades, new appliances, and the cost that goes along with that. All of us in Grand Terrace have suffered through power outages. Some of us were fortunate enough to have natural gas, and we had hot water, which was a wonderful thing. But, you know, try going 8 days without it. This is just bad public policy, and they're doing it without any awareness of the public is being done behind the scenes. It's to be implemented in 2 years, and I anticipate that even if we're successful in postponing it now, it will be something that we'll see again in the future, because they have decided that we need to go all electric in our homes. So that's my motion.
Okay. I know you're new,
Yeah.
but when you do this, the future agendas, you don't go into detail.
Well-
You just ask for it to bring back, but you could use that on your
Okay.
councilman comment.
Well, I thought it was important.
No, it's important. It's very important.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, the SBCTA, all the mayors except for one person in the city to the right of me said no on that, all right? And I don't know if Daisy was brought back with the League of Cities yet. Did we do a motion on this?
No, I don't believe
Okay.
so.
Okay, I'll second your nomination to bring that so the council could do it, and then the proper steps to make sure we're within the law, because it is a state organization on that. And it is a very good point, Councilman Brown. And they are hiding it, and it will be a very burden on people who have to convert, especially their old houses, to gas. But thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, so on other things, you just bring up the motion, and then we'll talk. You could bring it up on your public comment.
We were going to come right back to me for my council member comments, so I thought I'd throw it all
Okay,
together.
so you're going to skip your council member comments? Or you
I
still
was
want-
intending
Okay.
on skipping my council member comments, but I wanted to be very clear that this not only
it's
applies
ver-
to private homes, but also multifamily housing, which will be passed on via rent, and commercial properties. So if anybody wants information on it, it's wecan'taffordthis.com. That's wecan'taffordthis.com. You can go online, you can submit a letter to AQMD opposing it, but this is money that's out of your family's pocket, and we can't afford it. So please check it out.
Thank you. But no, you're right, they're trying to hide it. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote for a future agenda.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, Councilman Brown. Any other agenda requests? Okay, so You have anything else to add for your communication?
No, sir, I apologize, Mayor.
No, but no, you did a good job, and I'm glad that you brought that out to make the public aware of it, because a lot of times public doesn't know what's going on and what cities are fighting for, but will continue to fight for their interest. Councilman Allen?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Since the last meeting, the day after the last meeting, I went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting. It was an interesting meeting, good meeting. It's always good going to Chamber of Commerce. I encourage everyone who's interested in the business community here in Grand Terrace, check it out. I attended the Civic Well Conference, where we learned about grant opportunities, and the big topic of the conference was fire resiliency and landscaping techniques. And one of the things I took away from it was, or a couple of things I took away from the conference was how desperate, or not desperate, but how much we can use and how much our community can use having a California Fire Safe Council in our community. Fire Safe Council is been around the state for years. It's a nonprofit organization. It helps communities become more fire resilient. Also helps communities get grants from the state to do landscaping, fire resiliency landscaping, and also helps the residents with in doing the same thing. It's kind of like, reminds me a lot about like the CERT program we have, and I think it would be a great opportunity for any CERT members or leadership that might want to be a part of the Fire Safe Council. CERT volunteers really care about their community, and I can see them being interested in the Fire Safe Council. I also attended this past week the San Bernardino County Veterans Advisory Committee meeting, and the subject matter, what we talked about there were the legislative items that the veterans, state veterans committee is working on. And right now the support is for our state veterans is on SB 1, Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 23, and Assembly Bill 53. Senate Bill 1 and Assembly Bill 53 are companion bills, and these are personal income tax exclusions. The first $20,000 of income of a veteran's income is excluded from state income tax. And then SB 23 raises the property tax exemption for disabled veterans, 100% service-connected disabled veterans. So these have, AB 53 was James Ramos wrote this bill, but it has about 30 bipartisan support, 30 members, Republican and Democrat at the state, that are supporting this bill for income tax relief. But on the Senate side, it's very partisan. And so I would just encourage anybody who's listening out there and who cares about veterans, call your member of Congress at the state level, at the Senate, and ask them to get on board with Senate Bill 1 and Senate Bill 23, which are heavily sponsored by Republicans, but they only have one Democrat. And our Senator, Rosalicia Ochoa Boa, supports all of these. She's a co-sponsor on all three of these. But our Assembly member is not yet, but I bet she will be once Tony leaves here and goes and make a phone call. All right. And so that's what we talked about at our VAC meeting, at our Veterans Advisory Committee meeting, and so I look forward to bringing you a better report back on how those turned out. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that information. Councilman Wilson, you have anything?
Thank you, Mayor. Attended the Ochoa Bow swearing in, as well as our Mayor Pro Tem also attended that. And it was great being able to be in the presence of so many politically motivated people. Also, and it was out in Palm Desert, by the way, attended a San Bernardino neighborhood revitalization group 3 or 4 days ago, and it was interesting to see how San Bernardino is trying to revitalize its downtown. And then attended the Cal Cities Inland Empire meeting along with the mayor and also Councilman Brown. And we talked about quite a few things in relation to economic aspects of development. And Randall Lewis was there, as well as the representative from Copner Broad, Hanson, and one of the BIA honchos. So a lot of good information. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just to clarify on your comment earlier regarding the person to the right for you who did not vote to oppose.
I meant to say city to
Not-
the right.
Yes, not here, not
You
tonight.
moved over there. No, it wasn't you.
No, not here, not tonight. Nothing more to add. I was up in Sacramento, and on Sunday when I came back, I made it just in time as Christy McGuire was actually locking the doors over at Get Loaded. And so I had the opportunity just to thank her for everything that she does in the community, and for the work that she does supporting public safety, and, you know, just for continuing to choose Grand Terrace of where she's going to keep and maintain her business. So congratulations to them, and just wishing them, you know, many more years. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Did you buy a gun at the last minute? No? Yeah, it was a great event. Thank you, Cars and Coffee, and In-N-Out was there. And, Christy taking over her brother's business. I did Terry's memorial service for him. And it was a beautiful send-off. But, yeah, I just remember Terry when he opened the doors there. And it's a great little business. It's a great tradition that they're keeping that business going. And I'm just wondering when we get a free gun when you buy so many, but I guess that doesn't work, but I want to thank Councilmember Brown for going for the SBCTA for me. And I also want to thank the Mayor Pro Tem for going to Omnitrans to represent, and plus running the council meetings and taking care of the city while I was gone. You know, how'd you like it?
You said that that things went downhill, leaving me in charge. No, it was great, and thank you to Councilmember Wilson for his support while you were away. So,
yes, Councilmember Wilson. Thank you, Councilmember Wilson, for helping Mayor Pro Tem out. That's about it. I really don't have anything. Councilmember Wilson did discuss on the League of Cities that they are always going after RETA numbers. Like they said, Huntington Beach, they spent $23 million fighting the state. We don't have that money. It's a shame, but other areas that I'm in, we are fighting the SCAG, SBCTA. There's a lot of outside sources that don't agree with this because they see it just doesn't make sense. I know up north, they write stuff up. I think sometimes they just pass things to make themselves look busy. But, once again, thank you guys for doing all the legwork on that to make sure our city doesn't get sued for this. And we will protect the property owners here so they don't get bullied and stuff. And Ms. Farley's property, when I first started coming up here, I always loved how her property looked, and it was always admired by, it looks like a park setting. So it's a beautiful house, a beautiful setting, and it's been in the family forever. And I can understand her frustrations and when stuff happens, but I know this city will protect her rights. And let's see, I don't think I got anything else besides the city manager's comments. I just know that there's also, are you going to mention about the thing at the senior center too? Okay. So give the communication city manager.
Sure. Actually, with the senior center, Edison will be having they call it an outage school, but basically a workshop on how to manage power outages. They'll also be having staff there to help fill out forms for the medical necessity devices and the extended powered equipment, so the residents that require that for their medical needs can address that. So they'll have a workshop there for that. It'll be at the Senior Center, April 1st, 6:30 till 8:30. And Edison will be hosting that there. We'll be doing a blood drive here at the community room, April 9th, from 12 to 6 o'clock. So, and there's always a desperate need for blood in San Bernardino County, so please, if you can come by, please help and contribute. May 1st, Senator Ochoa Bo will be here in the council chambers, and I believe that at 6 o'clock for a town hall meeting, so please attend and let her know what your feelings are and what's going on out here. There will be a rave in San Bernardino at the Orange Show on the 28th and the 29th from 4 o'clock until 2 in the morning. So those of you that enjoy that, turn up the volume. Those that don't, let's get some earplugs. There is a hotline. It will be open for noise complaints during the hours of the rave. We will put that on the number on the Just the Facts portion of the website. So when that comes, you can
Did
find
you buy your ticket already?
My bedroom overlooks the rave. I don't need a ticket. I just get binoculars and I'm set. And I can feel it in my liver all night long. So,
Okay, well, we don't want to see a video of you dancing though. That's
no, I did that once for my wife. She asked me to never do that in public again. But that is coming. Please be ready for that. And then anything from the sheriff?
I do have a couple things. First and foremost, the Sheriff's Department had a tough week this week, as you probably are all aware. We lost one of our own last Monday. Deputy Hector Cuevas passed away chasing a suspect. He was involved in a fatal vehicle collision in Victorville. So thank you to members of council who reached out personally on his behalf. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Secondly, to kind of piggyback on what Conrad said, yes, there is a hotline that will be available, and for those of you that want to kind of jot it down now, the noise hotline, which will only be operational during the show hours, is going to be area code 424-303-6017. And that's from the promoter themselves, and so that will be operational during that time. So if you don't like it, call as many times as you want. So. What else? Okay, and then the last thing, we've been discussing this after our home invasion that we had a little while back. There was a lot of public interest in getting a neighborhood watch back up and going again, and so we're definitely ramping that back up. In the next few weeks, we'll have a date set where we're going to get everybody together. We'll pick a location in the city here to go ahead and have everybody come out. I just want to stress to the community, please don't fall back into complacency. Not that we were complacent before, but just Grand Terrace is a very, very safe city, but we have to always be aware. So make sure don't give these criminals opportunities to victimize us. So a lot of the stolen vehicles we have is residents are leaving their doors unlocked and their windows are going to smash because they left their cell phones and their valuables inside their vehicles. Lock those things up and make it difficult so when they have lighting around your house and lighting around your vehicles and park in areas that are well lit and things like that. Just they look for a moment of opportunity to victimize you. So just help us out, kind of help you out. And again, just be vigilant in your neighborhoods and around the community. If you're seeing something, again, we say it time and time again, month after month. Be vigilant. You see something, say something. Call us. And if you're going to be away for some set amount of time, you're going on vacation or whatever it's going to be, there's always options. You can request extra patrol from the Sheriff's Department in your communities. If there's things going on in your particular neighborhoods that you think warrant attention, by all means, you can go onto the Sheriff's Department website and download the extra patrol request form, fill that out, drop it off at Central Station and on 3rd Street in San Bernardino, and that'll get passed out to all the shifts, and every deputy that patrols Grand Terrace will get that information to take care of those particular problem areas that you want patrolled. And that's you are eyes and ears of the community, and it helps us out immensely. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And from Fire Chief, you got anything for us?
Yeah, nothing from the fire department, but I would like to introduce Jared Dowden in the back here. The fire department did recently staff a position, fuels mitigation, fuels manager. Helps with the wildland pre-planning, prevention, and things like that. And it just so happens he also happens to be a Grand Terrace resident. So excited for that position, and you'll see him out and about in the community. And that's all from fire.
All right. Well, let me back up a couple steps here. Councilmember Wilson, when I was watching the video of last, council meeting, he mentioned about speeding and how I know we're down to one sheriff. On our overtime we pay, can we authorize the overtime being a traffic officer for that? Or would your officers, because you said that we could call in, because I know some neighborhoods, even my neighborhood, I know when the freeway's backed up and they're flying up the street. I want to buy a spike strip and, from Amazon, but that won't work. But if people do have people speeding up and down the street, can they do that for them like you said to get that extra coverage just to come through and see the problem speeders? Because I know there's some problem areas here.
Absolutely, yeah, that's part of it, because there's problem areas, we can request that. And actually, last Friday, we had 2 deputies that were assigned from 6 o'clock in the morning till about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and all they did was just traffic enforcement, speeding, unlicensed driving, all kinds of different things, and they stopped dozens of drivers. There's many citations out there, but they typically, the way we go out there and patrol these areas, it's going to be high traffic areas, where these problem areas are going to be. And again, most of it's going to be within public view, but if there are outlier areas in the community where there are speeders going through the neighborhood, we need to know about those things. Those are things that need to be brought up through extra patrol. They could be through email, just through city council meetings, and just let us know so we can concentrate and focus on those areas to thwart that behavior.
And that's one of the biggest issues, outlying areas of 25 miles an hour, and they're flying up there, and you have my dog got killed because of a speeder going up the street. So, that's, we really got to concentrate on that. When they cruise through there, the other day, I had 3 sheriffs cruise through, but it was Riverside County Sheriff, and everybody's going slow, but those 3 guys can't cruise through all the time. But that's just something I want to know, if they could request that when they do have those issues, and that you'll look in there, maybe do extra patrol, or just cruise through those areas, because I know it's a miracle somebody does a California stop anymore. Now they just blow through it. And I know during school hours, most of our speeders are moms dropping their kids off and not doing what they're supposed to do. But that's good to know if we could do something like that.
We can.
I just wanted to, because I heard Councilman Wilson, and it's been an ongoing issue, on that. And, but I hope, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but I don't think any warnings justify anymore, but that's up to your own discretion on that stuff. So it is kind of hard, especially, like I said before with the camera, I don't hike on Mount Vernon anymore because you take your life in your own hand. And that's one of our big traffic areas for kids walking home. And thank God we're going to get traffic signals, but still people run through the traffic signals. And before, back in the days, it was known as don't go through Grand Terrace because you'll get a ticket. We had the guys and the officers jumping over each other. It'd be nice to do that again, but it's a big concern, especially on the travel routes and the residential thing when the kids are walking too. So we don't want to forget about those areas.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not sure where that pendulum shift, where there's that perception that maybe that's not occurring now. I can assure you, like I mentioned last city council meeting, that they're handling several hundred calls for service, every week. So it's being done on top of just traffic enforcement. They have criminal operations as well. So, yeah, we'll make sure we focus some extra attention on that as well.
Okay, and one last thing, because for fire department, and I think I mentioned before, but if you cannot burn your trash or any wood or any branches in your yard or on somebody else's property, especially by Blue Mountain, So if you see somebody doing that, don't go to the fire department and tell them, call 911, bring in the cavalry and embarrass the heck out of that person, because that's just common sense, right? Because we seen what happened over in LA. We see most of the fires now, I see them all the time, you know, the homeless lighting fires. And if you cannot burn trash or anything else, and especially on the side of Blue Mountain on somebody else's property. So call 911 when you see something. Like, again, see something, say something, do that. Don't post it on Facebook. I seen somebody doing this. 911 when emergency happens. So thank you guys for everything you did. And then we were invited to be a fireman for a day. Do we get the same pay as you guys for the day, or what?
Yeah, you'd have to work that out with the local, but yeah, Fire Ops 101, most of you have probably been there in the past. Excellent opportunity for you guys to interact with the firefighters and kind of see what the job entails, and encourage you guys to attend if you can.
So me and Councilman Allen attended before, so will we get to yell at our other council members like in Marine Corps boot camp?
Yes, that is exactly how it works. Yeah, all the other ones would be rookie attendees, and the senior attendees can
So
go
they
ahead
have to
and
get
run
us
the
our lunch
operation.
and everything else? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify, you guys heard that. Okay. Well, we have a closed session. We're not done yet, council, so City Attorney, you want to read what we had to do in closed session, please?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have 3 closed session items this evening, all under the heading Conference with Real Property Negotiator, under Government Code Section 54956.8. I'll identify the 3 properties. The first property is Palm and Barton Road, 22795 Barton Road, Grand Terrace, California, 92313, APN 0276-202-47. The second property is also Palm and Barton Road, 22795 Barton Road, Grand Terrace, California, 92313, APN 0276-202-61. And the third property is also Palm and Barton Road, 22757 Barton Road, Grand Terrace, California, 92313, APN 0276-202-31. For all properties, the property owner is the Anthony and Angeline Petta Trust. The agenda should identify trust. Agency negotiator is Conrad Bolowich, city manager, and myself, Adrian Guerra, city attorney. And under negotiation for all 3 items are price and terms of payment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And before we go, I'm remiss about, Deputy Cuevas, the young man, he was actually working overtime. It was his day off, right, that day? That's what I heard. And he had a young family. Yeah. So you never know when God's going to call you home. And, unfortunately, God called him home way too early, doing his job to protect the residents and the citizens over a criminal that was known to keep doing this and running away. So I want to close in our session, our agenda, in honor of him, and our thought and prayers go out for the family and his brothers and sisters in arms. It's not easy losing somebody, and when you're working with them, and it can be very hard, but thank you guys for always, protecting us and doing what's right. But I'm glad we're going to be working on this Citizens Patrol. But, you never know. You don't know. Just like that resident that defended his property. Prayers for him, too, because you never know. All right, so we're going to go to closed session. Thank you, everybody. I know you're not going to stay here tonight, but thank you for all your comments and concerns, and we're adjourned for closed session. All right, we're back from closed session conference. City Attorney, you want to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we had 3 closed session items tonight, all under the heading Conference with Real Property Negotiator for the properties at 22795 and 22757. There are 2 properties at 22795. Discussion was had, direction was provided to the city manager and city attorney. However, no reportable action. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and remember, we're closing in honor of Deputy Cuevas, San Bernardino County Sheriff Deputy who lost his life couple weeks ago during a tragic traffic accident chasing a stolen vehicle suspect who had multiple arrests. So our hearts and our prayers go out to the deputy's family and his brothers and sisters in arms. And we're going to go ahead and adjourn for the next regular city council meeting will be held March 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. No. Didn't you say?
April 8th.
What was the March 25th for?
It's wrong on your paper.
No, it says April 8th on my paper.
You wrote it.
Well, you just, excuse me. Okay, so April 8th. So, all right. Okay. So I was right and everybody else made me wrong. Is this because payback because I wasn't here last time? Okay. So next meeting, April 8th at 6 p.m. And the public's welcome. We're going to recognize Lieutenant Lane for his outstanding services to his retirement. So if you have any items requested to be placed on future agenda items, maybe writing and submit it to the city clerk. Thank you, everybody.